Short is the story, long is the life.
Wukong's Archive presents China Urban Legends EP10. The Broken Bridge White Lady of West Lake. Not because he loved the night scenery of the lake, it was because his girlfriend worked at a bar on the lakeshore. The bar was on Beishan Road, less than 200 meters from the broken bridge. Every night, he'd walk her home from work. From the bar to the bus stop, they had to walk along Beishan Road for a stretch, passing the broken bridge. The broken bridge is one of the most famous bridges at West Lake, and also one of the most famous bridges in Chinese folklore. In the legend of the White Snake, Su Xian and Lady White met on the broken bridge. Lady White was a snake spirit, Su Xian was a mortal. A human and a demon met on that bridge, and from that meeting came everything that followed: the flooding of Jinshan Temple, Fahai's suppression, the toppling of Leifeng Pagoda. When Lu Jianming later thought about this story, he felt it might not be just a love legend. Lady White was a demon. She wanted to become human. She wanted to live in the human world. The broken bridge was where she crossed the boundary between demon and human. On one side of the bridge was the human world she could not enter. On the other side was the demon world she could not return to. She stood on the bridge, caught between two worlds, unable to go forward or back. A bridge is, by its nature, something that connects two places. But some bridges might connect more than just one shore and another. During the day, the broken bridge is packed with people, tourists holding up their phones for selfies everywhere. It's hard even to stop and take a photo. The bridge is about 30 meters long and no more than 7 or 8 meters wide, a single arch stone bridge. The deck is paved with flat stone slabs, with stone railings on both sides. Lotus flowers are carved into the tops of the railing posts. The northern end connects to Beishan Road, the southern end connects to the Bai Embankment. The Bai Embankment stretches all the way to Solitary Hill, a full kilometer long, one of the most famous causeways on West Lake. But after 11 o'clock at night, the tourists disperse, and the broken bridge becomes empty. The streetlights cast a dim yellow glow onto the bridge deck and the lake water. In autumn, it doesn't get dark too late in Hangzhou, but the fog on the lakeshore is very heavy. Lu Jianming says the fog at West Lake is different from anywhere else. It's not a gray, hazy kind of fog. It's a thin layer of white mist that drifts just above the water's surface. The streetlight shines through the mist, and the whole bridge looks like it's floating in the clouds. Walking on the bridge, you can't see anything more than 10 meters ahead. The stone slabs beneath your feet are damp from the night fog, reflecting a faint sheen of light. Lu Jianming says that the first time he saw the woman on the broken bridge, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. It was a night in mid-October. The lingering summer heat had just passed, and Hangzhou's nights were starting to turn cool. After he'd picked up his girlfriend, she said she still needed to go over the accounts with a coworker and told him to go ahead. So he started walking back alone. When he reached the middle of the broken bridge, he saw someone standing at the far end of the bridge. A woman. She was wearing a white dress, the hem gently swaying in the night breeze. Long hair, loose and untied. She stood beneath the dim streetlight at the northern end of the bridge, head lowered, completely still, like a statue. The light from the street lamp shone down from above her head, casting deep shadows over her face, making her features impossible to make out. Lu Jianming says he wasn't scared at the time. The broken bridge was a tourist attraction, but it was also just a road. Someone standing on the road wasn't unusual. Maybe it was another guy waiting for his girlfriend to get off work, maybe a lost tourist. He kept walking forward. His leather shoes made a soft tapping sound on the wet stone pavement. When he walked up beside her, her head moved, then lifted. She looked at him. Her features were clear under the streetlight, an oval face, very fair skin, slender eyebrows, pale lips. She seemed to be about 25 or 26, fairly delicate in appearance. Her lips parted slightly, and she said something. Her voice was very soft, very flat, as if it had drifted over from somewhere far away. She said, "Got a light? Do you have a cigarette?" Lu Jianming was taken aback. It hadn't occurred to him that a woman standing alone on the broken bridge late at night would be asking for a cigarette. He said, "Sorry, I don't smoke." The woman said nothing more and lowered her head again. Her hair fell forward, covering half her face. Lu Jianming stood there hesitating for a second or two, then kept walking. But after he'd taken about 7 or 8 steps, he felt something was wrong. He couldn't quite put his finger on it. Maybe it was how soft her voice was, so soft it didn't sound like it came from a person's mouth, more like an echo coming from somewhere else. Or maybe it was how calm her eyes were, not the kind of look a person standing alone on a bridge late at night should have. He stopped, turned back to look. There was nothing at the head of the bridge. The woman was gone. From when he'd finished speaking to when he turned around, at most, a few seconds. There was nowhere on that bridge to hide. The deck was only a few meters wide, flanked by waist-high stone railings, with the lake below. She couldn't have silently climbed over the railing and jumped into the lake in just a few seconds without making a sound. And the head of the bridge had no side paths or doorways where she could have slipped away. But she was gone. As if swallowed up by the fog. As if she had never existed at all. Lu Jianming stood on the bridge. A chill rose from the soles of his feet all the way to the top of his head. It wasn't wind coming from outside. It was a kind of cold radiating from inside his body. The palm holding his phone was slick with sweat. He didn't know how long he stood there. Maybe just a few dozen seconds, maybe a minute or two. His mind was a complete blank. Finally, he hurried across the remaining stretch of the bridge, walking fast, and didn't stop until he reached the bus stop. A young couple waiting at the bus stop noticed his pale face and gave him a second look. He leaned against the bus signpost, his heart pounding like a drum. He turned and looked back in the direction of the broken bridge. The fog had grown thicker. The streetlights' glow in the mist formed a fuzzy halo of light, like an eye without a pupil. The next day, he told his girlfriend about what had happened. She was a Hangzhou local, born and raised there. When she heard his account, she wasn't surprised at all. She said, "You met the broken bridge ghost woman." Lu Jianming asked what broken bridge ghost woman. His girlfriend said it was a legend that locals in Hangzhou all knew about. Almost every older generation person had heard it. They said that during the Republic of China era, a woman had jumped into the lake from the broken bridge and drowned herself, wearing a white qipao. Ever since then, a woman in white would often appear on the broken bridge at night, standing at the bridgehead, asking passers-by for a light or a cigarette. His girlfriend said she'd heard this story from her grandmother when she was little. Her grandmother said that when people of her generation were children, the adults in the family always warned them, "Don't go to the broken bridge at night." Not because it was unsafe, but because some things don't belong to the daytime. Lu Jianming said he didn't believe in these things. He was a history student, he believed in evidence. He thought maybe he'd just seen things, or it had been an ordinary passerby who'd gone down the other side of the bridge just before he turned around. His girlfriend said, "If you don't believe it, go again tomorrow night and see if she's still there." Lu Jianming said he would. He wasn't a timid person, he'd grown up in the countryside of Shaoxing and had been used to walking on dark roads since childhood. The next night, he deliberately went to the broken bridge before his girlfriend got off work. He stood beneath a plane tree at the northern end of the bridge and looked at it. The West Lake on an autumn night was very quiet. The streetlights cast long bands of light across the water's surface. The lights of the distant city turned into fuzzy halos in the mist, like looking at the world through frosted glass. Occasionally a car drove past on Beishan Road, its headlights cutting through the fog, tires rustling against the pavement, then everything fell back into silence. He checked his phone. 11:38 p.m. And then the woman appeared. Lu Jianming says he still didn't see exactly how she appeared. He just looked down at his phone, and when he looked up again, she was already standing there. The same spot. The same white dress. The same pose, standing beneath the streetlight, head lowered, hands clasped in front of her. The night breeze blew past, making the hem of her dress and her hair flutter gently, but her body didn't move at all. It was as if the wind only touched her clothes and hair, but not her. Lu Jianming took a deep breath and walked toward her. His heart was racing. But he told himself not to panic, this time he was prepared. He had a pack of cigarettes and a lighter in his pocket. If she really was a ghost, he wanted to see what a ghost actually looked like. When he reached her side, she lifted her head. Her movement was very slow, like a rusty machine turning, notch by notch. When her eyes met his, Lu Jianming felt his breath stop for a second. Her gaze couldn't really be called frightening. It wasn't the kind of fierce, terrifying stare you see in horror movies. Nor was it vacant or empty. Her gaze was incredibly calm. Calm like the surface of a lake with no ripples at all. When you looked into eyes like that, you felt like you weren't looking at a person, you were looking into a mirror. There was nothing in those eyes except your own reflection. She spoke. Her voice was exactly the same as the night before. Very soft. Very flat. As if carried from very far away.
Got a light? Do you have a cigarette?
Lu Jianming pulled out the pack, took out a cigarette, and held it out to her. She reached out her hand. Her fingers were long and slender, her nails neatly trimmed, with no nail polish. Her skin was very pale, not the kind of pale that comes from makeup, but a bloodless, cold-toned white, like fine porcelain, like jade that had never been touched by sunlight. Under the streetlight, the veins on her hand were clearly visible, one by one winding beneath her skin. Her fingers closed around the cigarette. Her movements were very gentle, as if afraid of crushing something. Lu Jianming's fingertips brushed against her fingers, they were cold. Not the biting cold of winter ice, but a cold that had no temperature. Like holding a stone that had sat in a shaded spot for a very long time. Not freezing, but without any warmth either. Lu Jianming says that at that moment, his brain felt like someone had pressed the pause button. He stood there, the cigarette still pinched between his fingers, the lighter's lid already open, but his hand frozen in midair, not moving forward. The woman didn't put the cigarette to her lips. She just held it in her hand, looked down at it for a while. Then she lifted her head and looked at Lu Jianming. The light from the street lamp caught her from the side. One half of her face was illuminated, the other half was hidden in shadow. The corner of her mouth seemed to twitch slightly, as if she were about to smile, or as if there was no expression at all.
Thank you.
Her voice was very soft. Then she turned and walked toward the other end of the bridge. Her footsteps were so light they were almost inaudible. The soles of her shoes landing on the stone pavement didn't sound like they were stepping on stone, more like stepping on cotton wadding. She walked 5 or 6 steps. At the boundary where the streetlight met the fog, her silhouette became hazier and hazier, as if she were being dissolved by the mist. First her color faded, then her outline disappeared, and finally even her shadow was gone. As if she had walked into an invisible wall. Lu Jianming stood on the bridge, still holding up the lighter. After a long moment, he looked down at his own hand. Between his fingers was a cigarette. The same one he had offered her. The cigarette had not been taken. The cigarette she had accepted was still held between his fingers. What she had taken was just the motion. Between his hand and hers, nothing had been passed. She had only performed the gesture of receiving, and taken the gesture itself, leaving the cigarette still in his hand. Lu Jianming kept that cigarette. He didn't know why he held on to it. Maybe as evidence, maybe he just forgot to throw it away. That cigarette stayed in the pocket of his coat for a long time. Once when he washed the coat, he fished it out, the cigarette had broken, the tobacco had scattered. He hesitated a moment, then threw it away. His girlfriend later asked if he wanted to go again. He said no, that was enough. He'd seen enough. But he couldn't let the matter go. He was a history student, he had an instinctive need to dig to the bottom of things like this. He started researching. First he searched online for keywords like broken bridge white-clothed woman, West Lake suicide woman, borrowing fire ghost woman. The results surprised him somewhat, he wasn't the only one who had encountered this story. On a local Hangzhou forum, from 2002 to 2008, at least a dozen people had posted about similar experiences. Someone said they were driving on Beishan Road past the broken bridge when they saw a woman in white standing at the bridgehead. Someone else said they were out for a late-night run when a woman asked them for a light. Another person said they were cycling past when a woman suddenly appeared in front of their bike, nearly scaring them into the lake. Yet another person said his girlfriend had taken a photo on the broken bridge, and when the photo was developed, there was a blurry white figure in it. These posts were spread across several years. The posters didn't know each other, but the details they described were highly consistent: white dress, long hair, standing beneath the streetlight at the north end of the broken bridge, asking people for a light or a cigarette. The times were mostly between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. The season was concentrated in autumn and early winter. Lu Jianming also went to the Hangzhou Municipal Archives. He pulled out the Republic of China era files from the West Lake District, and amid piles of yellow documents, he found a file that he would never be able to forget. It was a 1934 Hangzhou Police Department report. The report was the investigation record of a suicide case. The deceased was a 25-year-old woman, surnamed Shen, a Hangzhou native. Before her death, she had been a teacher at a girls' middle school in Hangzhou. On the evening of October 12, 1934, teacher Shen left her dormitory and never returned. The next morning, her body was found in the waters of West Lake near the broken bridge. The police investigation concluded it was suicide, cause unknown. But there was one detail in the report that bothered Lu Jianming enormously. The report stated that when teacher Shen was pulled from the water, she was wearing a white qipao. Her face was very peaceful, not the expression of someone who had struggled while drowning. Stranger still was the medical examiner's finding: teacher Shen's lungs showed no signs of water. No water in the lungs. Someone who jumped into West Lake to drown herself, but there was no water in her lungs. Then how had she died? Lu Jianming also found newspaper reports from the time. The Hangzhou Republic Daily had published a short article about the incident on October 15, 1934. The final paragraph quoted a colleague of teacher Shen's. The colleague said that in the week before her disappearance, teacher Shen had told her, with great confusion, every night, "Someone is waiting for me on the broken bridge." The colleague asked who was waiting. Teacher Shen did not answer. She only repeated, "Someone is waiting for me. Every night, they're there." Lu Jianming didn't stop there. He also went to the Hangzhou City Library. He found a book titled West Lake Folktales Collection, published in 2001. On page 200-something, he found the story of borrowing fire at the broken bridge. The story was set during the Guangxu era of the Qing dynasty. A scholar traveling to the imperial exams was crossing the broken bridge one night when he encountered a woman in white weeping at the bridgehead. The scholar approached and asked what was wrong. The woman said she was lost and didn't know how to get home. The scholar, moved by compassion, offered to escort her home. When they reached her doorstep, the woman invited him in for a cup of tea. The scholar followed her into a large mansion, only to find it completely empty, not a soul inside, just an oil lamp still burning on the table. When he turned around, the woman had vanished. The next day, the scholar returned to the same spot. There was no mansion there at all, only a grave overgrown with weeds. On the tombstone was an inscription, "The tomb of the late Madame Shen, nation." When Lu Jianming saw the character Shen, his heart skipped a beat. That female teacher who had jumped into West Lake from the broken bridge, she was also named Shen. He opened another book. It was the West Lake Gazetteer, published in 1995, the official gazetteer of the West Lake Scenic Area Administration. In Volume 8, the Anecdotes section, it recorded some unusual events around West Lake from the Republic of China period onward. Among them was one very brief entry. Narrator, reading in the autumn of the 23rd year of the Republic of China, 1934, a woman in white was seen standing beneath a street lamp at the northern end of the broken bridge at night, asking passers-by for a light. Those who responded found that the cigarette had not even been lit before the woman had disappeared. For a time, it was widely discussed as a strange tale. The West Lake Police Department sent officers to stake out the area at night, but found nothing. It ceased on its own after half a month. Lu Jianming did the math. Autumn 1934, that was exactly the time when Teacher Shen had jumped into the lake. The police had sent people to stake out the area, but they saw nothing. After half a month, the phenomenon stopped on its own. Had Teacher Shen's restless soul finally found peace? Or had she found the person she was waiting for? After graduation, Lu Jianming left Hangzhou and went back to work in Shaoxing. He never went to West Lake late at night again. But occasionally, he would think about that woman. He would remember how she looked with her head lowered under the streetlight. Remember her gesture of accepting the cigarette. Remember her words, "Got a light? Do you have a cigarette?" He says he later uncovered a detail he could never forget. In a 1935 local Hangzhou cultural magazine, he found a poem published by Teacher Shen while she was still alive. The poem was very short, only 4 lines. Narrator, reading. Night after night on the bridge I wait for one to come home. Fog fills West Lake, moonlight bathes me alone. Borrow a thread of fire from the world of the living, to light the lamp on the Yellow Springs road home. Lu Jianming says when he saw this poem, his hand trembled. Borrow a thread of fire from the world of the living, to light the lamp on the Yellow Springs road home. She wasn't borrowing a cigarette. She was borrowing fire. She had no family left in the human world, no attachments, no connections. What she needed was a bit of fire, to light the road to the other world. And the way she borrowed fire was to wait on the broken bridge for someone passing by late at night. To wait for that person to draw near, and to say one sentence to them. She didn't need that person to actually give her fire. She didn't need a cigarette. She just needed someone to see her, to hear her, to acknowledge her. Later, Lu Jianming learned something else that made it even harder for him to let the matter go. His girlfriend's coworker, a local girl born and raised in Hangzhou, heard about his investigation and told him a detail that had puzzled even her for a long time. That girl said that when she was little, she lived in an old neighborhood near West Lake. The old folks used to say that the broken bridge hadn't always been called the Broken Bridge. In the Tang Dynasty, it was called Bayou Bridge. In the Song Dynasty, it was called Duanjia Bridge. But regardless of what it was called, the location of the bridge had never changed since ancient times. Her grandmother told her there was an old saying among Hangzhou locals, "The broken bridge is not broken, solitary hill is not solitary, the long bridge is not long." It meant that three things had names that were opposite to reality. The broken bridge was actually not broken, Solitary Hill was actually not solitary, and the long bridge was actually not long. But the grandmother also told her another saying. Very few people knew this one. The broken bridge is not broken, because there's something beneath it holding it up. She asked her grandmother what that something was. The grandmother didn't say. She only said, some bridges, when they were built, weren't just for people to walk across. Lu Jianming says when he heard that, many thoughts came to mind. He remembered the records he'd seen in the archives about the dredging of West Lake. In the 1950s and 1980s, West Lake underwent two large-scale dredging projects. The work crews dug up large numbers of ancient building foundations from the lakebed, the ruins of houses, bridges, and causeways. They reportedly also unearthed stone-paved roads from the southern Song dynasty. Some of those stone roads were so well preserved, they looked as if they had just been laid down. Those roads led into the fathomless darkness of the lake waters. Those submerged buildings and streets, they had once been places where living people dwelled. Now fish swam in and out of their windows, and water plants grew in their courtyards. And if there were people in those sunken houses who had never left? That thought sent chills down his spine. Later, Lu Jianming met someone on a local history forum. That person said his great-grandfather had been a police officer in the Hangzhou Police Department in 1934, and had participated in the investigation of the Broken Bridge suicide case. Before he died, the great-grandfather had left a diary containing some records about this case. The diary recorded one thing. In the early morning of October 13, 1934, the day Teacher Shin's body was discovered, the officers investigating the scene found something on the stone railing of the broken bridge, a single spent cigarette. The brand was Big Front Gate, the most common brand on the Hangzhou market at the time. It had been smoked only once, then stubbed out and placed on top of a railing post. That cigarette was not Teacher Shin's. Teacher Shin did not smoke. Who had smoked that cigarette? And why had it been left on the stone railing of the broken bridge? The diary also recorded another thing. After Teacher Shin's body was taken away, officers staked out the area near the broken bridge for several consecutive nights. The officers on stakeout said that between 1 and 2 in the morning, footsteps could sometimes be heard on the bridge deck, like the sound of leather shoes walking on the stone slabs. The footsteps went from the southern end of the bridge to the northern end, then from the northern end back to the southern end, back and forth. But when the officers leaned out to look, there was not a single person on the bridge. The stakeout lasted 7 days. After the 7th night, the footsteps disappeared. No one ever knew whose footsteps they were. And no one knew why they stopped. Perhaps Teacher Shin's restless soul had finally found peace. Or perhaps there had been someone who had walked the night roads back and forth across the broken bridge for over 100 years, and had finally found the person he was waiting for. Lu Jianming says that before he graduated, he went to West Lake one last time. It was an evening in June. The early summer in Hangzhou wasn't too hot yet. He walked alone along the Bai embankment. Starting from the broken bridge, all the way to Solitary Hill, then back again. The Bai embankment is a full kilometer long, lined with weeping willows and peach trees. The peach blossoms had already fallen by June, but the willows were at their greenest. Pleasure boats drifted on the lake, tourists on board taking photos. In the distance, the silhouette of Baoshu Pagoda stood quietly against the twilight. When he reached the middle of the broken bridge, he stopped. He leaned against the stone railing and looked down at the water below. The lake water was grayish-green, not very clear, you could see about a meter below the surface. Beyond that, there was only darkness. His reflection shimmered on the water, gently distorting with the ripples. He remembered a saying. It was what his girlfriend's coworker's grandmother had said, the broken bridge is not broken, because there's something beneath it holding it up. He looked down at the water beneath the bridge for a while. He couldn't see anything. The lake was deep and silent. He went to the Hangzhou Municipal Archives one more time to check the records. This time, he found a file that finally let him let the matter rest. It was a 1980 technical report on the West Lake dredging project. The report included an engineering diagram marking the water depth in various areas of West Lake. The water near the broken bridge was marked at 3.2 meters deep. Directly beneath the broken bridge, the diagram had a marker on it. The marker was a small square. In the notes column of the engineering report was a single line explaining the marker, a suspected man-made structure discovered directly beneath the bridge foundation, approximately 4.5 meters from the water's surface. Diver inspection confirmed a stone-arched roof structure, suspected to be an ancient tomb or underground chamber entrance. As it does not affect bridge safety, no further excavation was conducted. Backfilled and preserved. A stone-arched roof structure. Directly beneath the broken bridge. An ancient tomb? An entrance to an underground chamber? Or something else? No one knows. The 1980 work crew didn't dig it open. They backfilled it, sealed it away. But 4.5 meters beneath the bridge, there really was an entrance. Where did it lead? Later, Lu Jianming wrote about this experience and posted it on his school's forum. The title was The Night on the Broken Bridge. In the article, he recounted his entire encounter with the woman in white, including all the archives and documents he had uncovered. After the article went up, many people commented. Some said they'd had similar experiences. Some said it was all fake. Some accused Lu Jianming of making up stories. But there was one reply that left a particularly deep impression on him. It was from someone whose username was Old Fisherman of West Lake.
That cigarette you mentioned, I know about it. My grandfather was a fisherman on West Lake. He told me something. In 1967, he was night fishing near the broken bridge. Around 2 in the morning, he saw someone standing on the bridge. It wasn't a woman. It was a man. He was wearing an old-style Mao suit, standing by the bridge railing, a cigarette held between his fingers. The red glow of the cigarette tip flickered on and off in the darkness. My grandfather said the man stood there for a long time. Then he placed the cigarette on the stone railing, turned around, and walked into the fog. My grandfather rowed his boat closer. There was no one on the bridge, but there was a cigarette on the stone railing, still slowly burning. My grandfather didn't touch that cigarette. He rowed away. He told me. That cigarette wasn't meant for the living to smoke.
When Lu Jianming read this reply, a chill ran down his back. If the woman in white he had encountered was waiting for someone willing to lend her fire, then who was that man standing on the broken bridge in 1967, smoking a cigarette? What was he waiting for? Or had he, too, once been waited for by someone? Perhaps the story of the broken bridge was never just one story. Lu Jianming says he later remembered something from his childhood. When he was little, back home in Shaoxing, his grandmother told him the story of the legend of the white snake. The broken bridge in Hangzhou is inseparable from the legend of the white snake. The legend of the white snake is one of the 4 great folk tales of China. Written records of it already existed by the Southern Song dynasty. The story goes that Bai Suzhen, a white snake spirit who had cultivated for 1,000 years on Mount Amei, sought out Su Xian on the broken bridge to repay a life-saving kindness from a previous incarnation. She gave herself to him in marriage. After enduring countless hardships, Bai Suzhen was suppressed beneath Leifeng Pagoda by the monk Fa Hai. Many years later, Su Xian's son passed the imperial examinations with top honors and returned to make offerings at the pagoda. Only then was Bai Suzhen released, and the family reunited. When Lu Jianming's grandmother told this story, he was still young. He remembers that at the end, she sighed. He asked his grandmother why she sighed.
Lady White was trapped under Leifeng Pagoda for 1700 years. When she was finally released, she was no longer the same person. She was just a shadow. After being locked away for so many years, a shadow that remembered nothing. Then where did she go after she came out? Maybe she went back to Mount Amay. Or maybe, she's still on the broken bridge. Because that's where she met Su Xian. She remembers that bridge. She doesn't remember anything else, only that bridge.
At the time, Lu Jianming thought his grandmother was making things up. The legend of the white snake didn't end like that in the books. The books all had a happy ending. Lady White and Su Xian were together in the end. But after he encountered that woman, he started to wonder, what if his grandmother had been right? What if the legend of Bai Sujian and the legend of the woman in white were different versions of the same story? Not the legend of the white snake. Not the Republican-era female teacher's suicide case. But something far older, far more ancient, appearing in different forms in different eras. In the Qing dynasty, it was a lost woman in white. In the Republic of China, it was a teacher borrowing fire. In the present day, it was a young woman asking for a cigarette. Wait another few decades, another 100 years, and it might change form again. But no matter what form it takes, it will always wait on the broken bridge. Wait for someone passing by late at night. Say one sentence to that person. Because a bridge is a place that connects two worlds. And the broken bridge, its name tells you already. It is a broken bridge. Broken, so you cannot cross over. On the other side of that bridge, it's no longer the human realm. And then she could leave. She could finally leave that bridge. Lu Jianming says he never went back to the broken bridge after that. He doesn't know if that woman is still there. He doesn't know if she ever found someone willing to stop and really look at her. Maybe she's already gone. Maybe she's still waiting. 1934 to 2026, nearly 100 years now. That lamp on the other shore, has she lit it yet? If one day, late at night, you find yourself passing the broken bridge at West Lake in Hangzhou, and you see a woman in white standing beneath the street lamp at the bridgehead, her head lowered, don't be afraid. She just wants to borrow a light. If you have a cigarette, give her one. If you don't have one, stop and say something to her. Tell her that you see her. He also thought of something else. The character, Duan, in Broken Bridge, has two meanings in Chinese. One meaning is that the bridge is broken. The other meaning is a place where very few people pass. The Tang Dynasty poet Zhang who once wrote a line, "The broken bridge, moss on the broken bridge is slippery and rough, the empty courtyard, fallen petals lie deep in the empty courtyard." It described the broken bridge as a desolate bridge, rarely traveled. In those days, the broken bridge was not a broken bridge, it was a lonely, deserted bridge. But later legends gave the broken bridge another meaning. It became the place where Lady White and Su Xian met. A human and a demon meeting on a bridge. The boundary between human and non-human was broken on that bridge. From that point on, the broken bridge was no longer just a geographical bridge, it became a symbolic bridge, a bridge connecting the human world and another world. Teacher Shen's poem contained these two lines: borrow a thread of fire from the world of the living, to light the lamp on the Yellow Springs Road home. In Chinese legend, the Yellow Springs Road is the path souls take to the underworld after death. There are no lamps on the Yellow Springs Road, it is pitch black. The dead need a lamp to light their way forward. Teacher Shen stood on the broken bridge, not to kill herself. She was waiting for a lamp. Waiting for a passerby to lend her a thread of fire from the human world. Lu Jianming also once found an old book in the school library. The book was called Dream Searching on West Lake, written by the late Ming/early Qing scholar Zhang Dai. After the fall of the Ming dynasty, Zhang Dai lived in seclusion near Hangzhou and wrote this memoir about West Lake. The book recorded various customs and legends from the late Ming around West Lake. There was a passage about the Lantern Festival at the Broken Bridge. Zhang Dai wrote that every year on the Lantern Festival, the Broken Bridge was covered with lanterns, crowded with visitors, one of the liveliest places on West Lake. But at the very end of the passage, Zhang Dai wrote a highly suggestive line. He said, "Beneath the broken bridge, the water is unfathomably deep." Since the Song dynasty, whatever lies beneath the bridge has been either a dragon or a monster. The sightseers know there are lanterns above the bridge, but they do not know there is also light below the bridge. Lu Jianming read the line several times before he understood what it meant. Zhang Dai was saying, the water beneath the broken bridge is deep, so deep the bottom cannot be seen. Since the Song dynasty, things under the bridge have been either dragons or monsters. All the sightseers know there are lanterns on the bridge, but they don't know there is also light beneath the bridge. Light beneath the bridge. What kind of light was that? Who had lit it? Zhang Dai did not say. Lu Jianming copied that line into his notebook. He thought to himself, maybe the lamp teacher Shen was waiting for was not on the bridge. It was beneath the bridge. Lu Jianming says he never went back to the broken bridge after that. He doesn't know if that woman is still there. He doesn't know if she ever found someone willing to stop and really look at her. Maybe she's already gone. Maybe she's still waiting. 1934 to 2026, nearly 100 years now. That lamp on the other shore, has she lit it yet? Sometimes he thinks about that pack of cigarettes. The one he bought on the day he went to pick up his girlfriend. He kept it for a long time afterward. He didn't finish it, but he didn't throw it away either. That pack sits in his desk drawer. He says he can't bear to throw it away, because that pack of cigarettes witnessed a rather unusual night. It witnessed an encounter on a bridge. He later researched some things about bridges. In traditional Chinese culture, bridges have always been a special kind of place. The cowherd and the weaving maid meet on the Magpie Bridge. Su Xian and Lady White's story takes place on the broken bridge. The dead cross the bridge of helplessness, Neha Bridge. A bridge connects two worlds. When you stand on a bridge, you are neither on this side nor that side. You are suspended in between. Lu Jianming says he now has a habit. If he meets someone on the road late at night who asks him for a light, no matter who it is, he stops and hands them his lighter. Not because he wants to meet that woman again, but because he thinks, if a person is standing on a bridge late at night, asking a complete stranger for a light, she must have her reasons. Maybe what she's waiting for isn't the fire. Maybe what she's waiting for is a word, a response, proof that she still exists in this world. If one day, late at night, you find yourself passing the broken bridge at West Lake in Hangzhou, and you see a woman in white standing beneath the street lamp at the bridgehead, her head lowered, don't be afraid. She just wants to borrow a light. If you have a cigarette, give her one. If you don't have one, stop and say something to her. Tell her that you see her. Lu Jianming also recalled a saying. The old-timers in Hangzhou say, the water of West Lake comes from underground springs. It doesn't come from the Qiantang River diversion. It's not gathered rainwater either. There are springs beneath West Lake. Where those springs lead to, no one knows. Some say they lead to the Eastern Sea. Others say they lead to the center of the earth. Su Dongpa, when he was the prefect of Hangzhou, dredged West Lake and wrote an essay saying that the lake's water emerges from within the earth, gushing and flowing, never stopping day or night. He meant that West Lake's water came bubbling up from underground, flowing outward without cease. If West Lake's water really does come from underground, then what places did it pass through before it rose up? Are there lamps in those places? Are there bridges? Are there people there waiting to borrow a light? Lu Jianming says he stopped thinking about it. He felt there probably wasn't an answer to that question. And maybe there shouldn't be. He later married his girlfriend, and the two of them moved to Shaoxing. He never went to West Lake after 11 p.m. again. Once, he was on a business trip to Hangzhou. After the meetings ended during the day, his colleagues suggested a walk along the West Lake. He went along with everyone else, walking along the Bai embankment, passing the broken bridge. During the day, the broken bridge was crowded with people. The sunlight was beautiful. The lake surface sparkled with rippling light. Nothing seemed unusual. He stood in the middle of the bridge, leaned against the stone railing, and looked down. The lake water was green, very clear. He could see his own reflection. His reflection rippled gently on the water's surface. He looked for a moment. Then he turned and walked away. He says he didn't see anything he wasn't supposed to see. And he didn't want to. Just before they parted ways, Lu Jianming said something to me. He said, "Do you know what the original ending of the legend of the white snake really is?" I said I didn't know. In the earliest version, Lady White was never set free. She remained trapped beneath Leifeng Pagoda forever. Su Xian became a monk. He built a small hut next to the pagoda and swept it every day until he died of old age. After his death, people buried him beside the pagoda. Between his grave and the pagoda, there was a bridge, the broken bridge. 1700 years later, Lady White's soul emerged from the pagoda. She didn't remember Su Xian anymore. She only remembered that bridge. Every day she stood on the bridge and waited for someone passing by. She didn't know what she was waiting for. She just waited. After Lu Jianming said this, he was silent for a moment.
Maybe the woman I encountered wasn't a teacher. Wasn't a ghost in white. She was by Suzhan. She didn't remember who she was anymore. She only knew she had to wait.
He smiled. Then he said, "Of course, that's just my wild guess." But I don't think he was guessing. Lu Jianming later told me that sometimes, when he wakes up in the middle of the night, he thinks about the fog on West Lake. He thinks about that thin layer of white mist that drifts just above the water's surface. He thinks about the figure standing beneath that street lamp. He says he's not afraid, he just finds the scene too quiet. So quiet that it feels like an image that doesn't belong to this world.
Have you ever thought that maybe the wall between our world and the other world isn't all that thick? Some places have thinner walls. The broken bridge might be one of those places. Not because there are ghosts there, but because it's a bridge. The two ends of a bridge are two different places. If one end of the bridge is our world, then what's on the other end? No one knows. But someone is standing at the entrance on the other side, waiting for someone to hand them a lamp.
Lu Jianming also told me about one more thing. Once, on a business trip, he was passing through Hangzhou with nothing to do during the day, so he went to the China Seal Engraving Museum by West Lake. The museum is at the foot of Solitary Hill, separated from the broken bridge by the entire Bai embankment. He spent the afternoon looking at seals and calligraphy in the museum. As he was leaving, he bought a book at the museum's souvenir shop. The title was New Edition of West Lake Folktales. Back at his hotel, flipping through it, he came across a story he hadn't noticed before. The story said that during the Guangxu era of the Qing dynasty, there was a monk who went to the broken bridge every night to meditate. Someone asked him why he didn't meditate at the temple instead. The monk said, "The sound of the water beneath the bridge is like Buddhist chanting, more pleasing than the wooden fish at the temple." Then one night, the monk didn't come back. The next day, people found his robe and prayer beads on the stone railing of the broken bridge. The monk himself was gone. Some said he had fallen into the lake and drowned. Others said he had walked across the broken bridge, reached the other side, and simply never returned. That bridge the monk walked across, it was the same broken bridge that Teacher Shen crossed, the same one Lu Jianming encountered that woman on, the same one where the woman in white stands. The same stone path. The same stone railings. The same street lamp. Over 100 years, some people crossed to the other side, and some did not. The story of this bridge may never come to an end. No one knows when the story of that bridge will end. Perhaps never. As long as the waters of West Lake still flow, as long as the broken bridge still stands, there will always be someone waiting beneath a street lamp late at night for a cigarette. The end. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe. New story every day.